All right, guys, so I have it in hand, the new BowTie L'Eau Exclusive, La Exclusive, however you want to say it. BowTie L'Eau Exclusive. I have it in hand. And I'm about to give you guys my opinion on this fragrance. Definitely want to make sure you're tuning in. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a rundown, kind of history on the other fragrances from this particular line. And just kind of give you my thoughts on this line overall. But let's get into it. Let's go. YouTube, what's good? It's your guy Darian, the BowTie fragrance guy on the channel, where we talk about smelling good. All different types of fragrances, man. The niche stuff, the designer stuff. Even talk about some of the inspired by stuff every now and again on the channel. So I cover it all. But I also like to throw in some style and grooming tips. I think if you're going to smell good, might as well look good. Just my thoughts, you know. If you're into that, make sure you hit subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications so anytime a new video gets uploaded on YouTube, you get notified. Guys, we're going to be talking about, of course, the new bleudechanel fragrance today, but I also want to show you the latest addition to my Tom Ford tie collection. This is a beautiful polka dot dark navy tie from Tom Ford. And you guys know, if you've been following me for any amount of time, how much I love Tom Ford. I love Tom Ford fragrances, but also I love his more traditional men's clothing as well. So we're talking about the suits, the dress clothing, as we would refer to it as. The suits, the ties, the pocket squares, the dress shirts, and other accessories. Really enjoy the brand. Not so much a fan of the more casual clothing. But again, when you talk about the dressier clothing, I'm definitely a fan. I was thinking about doing a video and I kind of go through my Tom Ford tie and pocket square collection, or my clothing collection maybe to include the shirts, the ties, the suits and stuff like that. If you guys would like to see that, let me know. Kind of thinking about doing it, but I want to do it if you guys want to watch it, of course. So comment down below if you would love to see that. Kind of take a look at the Tom Ford clothing collection. You know, let me know. This is Tom Ford tie as well, but you know, just one of my favorite brands. Let me know if you guys would like to see that down in the comment section. Yeah, guys, so today we're going to be jumping into talking about like I said, the new BowTie L'Eau Exclusive. I'm trying to preserve my commentary for when we really get into it, but I got some thoughts about this fragrance. I can't wait to share it with you guys. And like I said, I just want to give you guys kind of a rundown on the other three fragrances from this line and kind of talk about, you know, how I feel about this line as it pertains to how this was done, comparatively speaking to some other brands and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm gonna run the intro and we come back when we get into it. If you want to hear my thoughts, and you should, you know the routine. Keep it locked right here. Let's get it.
The BowTie Fragrance Guy.
All right, guys, we're back. Thank you so much for keeping it locked in. Let's jump right into it. BowTie L'Eau Exclusive. Wow. I have it. This has been rumored for a while that this may be coming out, and they finally brought this out in 2025, 7 years after the last release of BowTie, the last iteration of this fragrance, which was BowTie, of course, Parfums, which was, for me personally, my favorite iteration of that fragrance, although I loved all three. But this is the latest. I want to say it follows a trend of what other designer fragrance brands have been doing. But to me, BowTie is kind of where this whole thing started. And I'm going to get into explaining that a little bit later in this video. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this is 100 ml, 3.4 ounce. This is the box that it comes in. Just kind of classy, not a whole lot. It's kind of on the back, the ingredients in the whole line, nothing else on the sides. Chanel logo at the top, and then batch code information and things of that nature on the bottom of the box. And when you take it out, it looks like BowTie, but it's a little bit different as far as the shape of the bottle. It is a smaller bottle. Still a 3.4 ounce, but just kind of in line with what I would say Dior did with Sauvage Elixir. which I would say this is kind of a quote-unquote response to Sauvage Elixir, and what Acqu Di Gio, or Giorgio Armani, did with Acqu Di Gio Elixir. It is a smaller, more plump, a wider bottle, kind of comparison to the, of course, the former iterations of the fragrance. Same amount of juice, just a different look on the bottle. L'Exclusif, this is a Parfum concentration, and I'm gonna get this out of the way. I absolutely love this fragrance. Absolutely love the fragrance. Of course, not necessarily the price. We'll get into that, but the fragrance itself is an absolute love for me. Like I said, I love the bottle as well. Although it's a different size or a different shape of the bottle, but it still has the same amount of juice, and it looks like the older or previous iterations of bleudechanel. So I can say that I love that about this fragrance. Guys, I'm just going to tell you, for me, it smells very similar to bleudechanel, the Parfum concentration, except this time they amped up the woods in the Parfum version of this fragrance compared to the EDP and certainly the EDT, but they took the amped up woods to another level and gave us a beautiful leathery labdanum note here to give the scent profile an even more deeper, richer, woodier scent profile, and even more longevity. I'm going to tell you, the projection on this is pretty good, but the longevity is eternal. It is eternal. I took a shower yesterday, midday, probably around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, right? So I wanted to test the fragrance out just to see how long it lasts, right? So I put it on my skin, and when because I stay up pretty late, when I was finally getting into bed, probably around to really go to sleep around 1:30, I could still smell it. It was still going strong. It was still going strong before I took a shower, and I could still slightly smell it on my skin after taking a shower. This fragrance is nuclear as far as the longevity. The projection is pretty good as well, but the longevity on it is eternal. Now, for me, I would say I kind of expect that because Chanel is Chanel. And in my humble opinion, Chanel is kind of the pioneer for how a lot of these fragrance houses have kind of gone about business. I'll put it that way. We had the original bleudechanel that actually came out in 2010. And like I said, I'm going to touch on those later. But you didn't have which the primary two brands I want to talk about, three kind of fragrance lines that I compare this one to that I think really modeled this particular fragrance line. You're talking about the Acqu Di Gio line. I kind of put that in there, and I'll tell you why in a minute. That whole Acqu Di Gio line. Then you have the Dior Sauvage line, and then you have the YSL Y line, which they took it and kind of went completely out of control with it, which I think they're up to like 8 or 9 fragrances in that whole line now, which is way too many. I like how Chanel did it, and I want to explain. So when I really got into reviewing fragrance or talking about fragrances in late 2017, 2018, around that time frame, these were kind of the big three. You had Acqu Di Gio Profondo, you had Dior Sauvage, and then you had bleudechanel. Those at that time were the big three, and then YSL Y, that whole line came right after that. But I think that particular line was inspired by these three. And like I said, to me, the YSL Y line got completely out of control because in that same time frame of like 2016, 17, whenever the first YSL Y came out, to have 7 or 8 flankers, 7 or 8 flankers in like a 6 or 7 year time frame is just too many. In my humble opinion, it kind of turned me off from that line because I just thought it's kind of a cash grab. It's too many fragrances, one behind the other, not enough of a differentiation between the fragrances. So it was a lot about it that became unattractive to me about the YSL Y line. But I think this line did it perfectly. Now, I can hear some of you say through the camera, Acqu Di Gio, the original fragrance was released in 1996, I think it was. Now, that was too long. And I think the way they kind of went about doing the flankers of this, of course I want to be inundated like YSLY, but that was just too long. You had 96, and they didn't really start doing the other primary flankers for the Acqu Di Gio line until later. I mean, we had the Essenza and all these other flankers before we had the EDP and the Parfum and the Elixir. So that was kind of a long time in between the fragrances. Too long in my humble opinion. Then of course we have Sauvage, which I still have a lot of respect for that line and the way they did as well as Acqu Di Gio. Sauvage, they didn't OD, they didn't give us too many, but they definitely kind of got ahead of Chanel when they released this, because I think this was back in 2021 or 22 or something like that, when they did the Elixir. So anyway, but in my humble opinion, Chanel did it perfectly, and I think that's my ultimate point. It is a more woody, smokier interpretation of the bleudechanel DNA, because you definitely smell bleudechanel when you spray this fragrance. And like I said, they amped the woods up even more from the Parfum and gave us a little bit of a smokiness in this fragrance, smoky, leathery texture that is coming from a beautiful note of labdanum in this fragrance. Now, when you first spray it, you're going to get bleudechanel with a spice. Now, when I was kind of looking at some of the previous iterations of this fragrance going back to the EDT from 2010, you still got that freshness in the opening, that kind of citrusy freshness, and then that mint, which is signature for bleudechanel. But you also immediately, I get a resemblance to how Dior Sauvage did Dior Sauvage Elixir, where they had the Dior Sauvage DNA, but then you had these, this huge dose of spices that came in there, which was kind of like cinnamon, nutmeg. I get nutmeg in this fragrance when I first spray it. So in addition to the signature bleudechanel kind of DNA, more specifically the Parfum, I pick up some nutmeg. Now, they don't really list a lot of notes for this fragrance, but I am telling you guys, there is nutmeg in this fragrance. Nutmeg, cinnamon, something to that effect. There's definitely get that in this fragrance. So it's kind of like bleudechanel Parfum with a hint of spiciness in the opening. Like I said, when it starts to dry down, guys, and it smells a lot like bleudechanel Parfum. And like I said, it was just that addition primarily of that smoky, leathery, labdanum note, and they've amped the woods up even more. This is a beautiful fragrance. Beautiful fragrance. It definitely is the quality that I was looking for out of this fragrance. And I love the way that the scent develops. You go through the different phases. You get the original Chanel, bleudechanel with the hint of spices. Then it changes again at the heart. And then when it comes to the far dry down, in addition to that leathery labdanum note, you also get a nice sweet ambery accord that is highlighted or features the note of tonka bean in this as well. Absolute home run in my humble opinion from the brand of Chanel. I definitely am going to come back. I'm going to do a really in-depth breakdown of this fragrance, but I just wanted to come on and give my 2 cents on it. I absolutely love it. It is an absolute love for me, without question. It retails for $275 for the 3.4 ounce, and the 2 ounce is $205. It was done by Olivier Poche. The first 2 iterations of this was done by Jacques Poche, and this was done by the last 2 done by Olivier Poche. Again, absolute home run. In my humble opinion, I know it's expensive, and that's been a big point of contention, kind of seems like, amongst fragrance enthusiasts, but I got 15% off when I bought it. So it was like $233, and then after tax, it was $242 or something like that, along those lines. So it made it a little bit more palatable, but I do understand people that have an issue with the cost. Again, I think when this one was released, it was around $160, and that's when things were starting to kind of get out of control. And I think by the time they released this bottle, and this is only a 2 ounce, if I'm not mistaken, this was like $180, $170. So the prices are definitely getting up there. But honestly, in my humble opinion, for me and how much I love the bleudechanel DNA, I would buy this again. And that's just me. That is just me. But I do, like I said, understand people that have an issue with the price of this fragrance. With it being a designer fragrance and being, you know, $275 and after tax, probably you're paying the full price, $280, probably close to $290 up. I get it. I have no issue with anybody that has a problem with it. I'm just saying, for me personally, I love it and I would buy it again. So before the EXCLUSIF came out, we had the Parfums, which came out in 2018. So again, we had a 7-year break before they came out with this. Lemon, mint, lavender, sandalwood, and tonka bean are the main notes. And I think you get all of those notes in this fragrance as well. You get all of those notes as well in the newest release. It's the EXCLUSIF. And maybe that's why they didn't list all the notes, because I'm pretty sure not pretty sure. They may assume, hey, once they smell this, because they smell the others, they'll know kind of what's in it. But I definitely get all those notes in this one as well with the additions. But till this one came out, this had been my favorite. But like I said, this new one has given me a twist even on the Parfum DNA. It's deeper and richer, and I can do nothing but have love for that because I absolutely love the DNA. And then we had the EDP, Bleu de Chanel EDP, right here, which came out in 2014. Now this one had the addition of, like I said, of that nutmeg note and some grapefruit in the opening. Not quite as woody as the Parfum, but it definitely had more depth to it than the original. The original Bleu de Chanel Eau de Toilette, which came out in 2010, had that same grapefruit note, but this one was a little bit more fresher, a little bit more on that citrus side. Also had pink pepper, ginger, and ISO-E Super in this one in 2010. So it was definitely the fresher version of this particular DNA. Again, not as deep as the EDP or the Parfum, and certainly not the EXCLUSIF. Had those kind of, fresh, more of a fresh scent profile. But I definitely have respect for them. All of my Chanel fragrances have dents in them. Absolutely love the DNA. And in my humble opinion, I wanted to bring these fragrances on just to kind of say, in my opinion, they did it the right way. You kind of had 4 years in between the first 3 releases, 2010, you went to 2014, and then 2018. Then they waited 7 years to do the EXCLUSIF. And I think just for companies moving forward, that's kind of sort of how you should do it. I'm pretty sure more folks would love it if it wasn't as expensive, but that's neither here nor there. But just the way that they did it and the quality that they gave us, I am a huge fan of the Bleu de Chanel line. I'm a huge fan of the Bleu de Chanel line, but I just want to kind of give you guys my initial impressions on this fragrance. And again, kind of give you a little bit of history on this line and, how I feel like they did it the right way. I think that's the point that I wanted to kind of get across today. Chanel did it the right way with the Bleu de Chanel. The fragrance is absolutely fantastic. What are your thoughts on it? If you've gotten your nose on it already, I would love to hear from you guys down in the comment section. As always, I sincerely appreciate you guys' time and your attention to these videos. You don't have to watch, but you do. And I sincerely appreciate that. Now, don't forget to take a few moments to like, comment, and subscribe. Please make sure you are sharing these videos out to some other folks that you think could use the information or find it entertaining. Because I'm your guy, Darren, on the BowTie Fragrance Guy. I love to look good, and of course, I love to smell fantastic. So until next time, keep looking good, keep smelling even better. I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.